Next, I'd like to ask Chris Chambers, CEO, Serious Simulations. Next, Candy Cole, Executive Director, Manufacturers Association of Central Florida, also known as MACF. And last but certainly not least, SK Sharma, Process and Reliability Engineer for Domtar. All right, panel, please have a seat and we'll start jumping into the questions. So working with a couple of the organizations over here, I'm very familiar what you provide. We have a couple of manufacturers and an association here, so I wanted to give a second for introductions down the line. We'll start with you, Richard, to introduce yourself and your company.
Thanks, Guy. Richard Sweat, I own Dot Decimal. We're a medical device manufacturer making patient-specific devices for patients receiving radiation therapy for cancer.
SK.
Hello, everyone. So we are a Domtar tissue manufacturing plant here in Sanford. We manufacture tissue rolls and converted products also, like toilet tissues. And we employ 70 people, and that's all from me.
Candy.
I'm Candy Cole. Yep, I'm Candy Cole. I'm the Executive Director for the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida, and we work really hard to make sure that these guys can do what they do and can grow and scale effectively.
Hi, Chris Chambers, founder of Serious Simulations. We're a military training device inventor and now manufacturer out in Oviedo, right near Central Florida's Research Park, where the bulk of our customers are, because we are military focused.
So we want to lead off with taking an overview, an outside look in on the manufacturing sector as a whole. And there is no better person to give us that outlook, either from a very wide macro lens or all the way down to our regional industry, than Candy Cole. So Candy, what is the state of manufacturing in Central Florida today?
Absolutely. So between 2014 and 2024, GDP in Florida for manufacturing grew from about $40.5 billion to more than $80 billion in 10 years. It's nearly doubled in 10 years, and we are not done. We're expected to surpass tourism in GDP in the next several years. So Florida is absolutely a manufacturing state. One of the things we have, though, so there's some challenges when it comes to, I hear, regardless of the industry, talent is a challenge, workforce is a challenge. So you find that manufacturers are investing more and more in automation and upskilling and training than ever before. So we have some challenges to get there, but manufacturing is actually extremely strong in Florida. We are well positioned.
And then as a follow-up to that message, I'd like to start with Chris, and is that what you're seeing in your company?
I find that the area is terrific for our company to thrive. I don't personally see the problem with talent. We have no problems getting very highly skilled electromechanical technicians, test engineers. We're still looking for a few of them. I talked to some of you afterwards about some of our HR needs as we continue to grow. But fortunately, when we look for talent, we're finding it. And I think our location in Oviedo and right on the border with Orange County attracts good people. There's good schools in Seminole County. It's a good place to live. So it's not hard to find people that are willing to, make the move if they want to move or just reside and work in the Oviedo area. So.
And SK, is that a similar trend for Domtar?
Yeah, we get people, but sometimes we struggle to find, we hardly have 100% crew available. So there is some turnover also. But we are able to manage. We hire people, we train them, and it's extensive training, especially focusing on the safety. But we are able to manage.
Now, if only we had a manufacturer that was also part of, I don't know, maybe career source that can generate the workforce that's needed for these manufacturers. Oh, hey, Richard, how are you? From the Career Source Board, along with Dot Decimal. Richard, would you like to opine on some of the messages here?
Yeah, I just had a school tour out last Friday from Seminole High School. And I generally ask every high school tour, you know, would you ever consider looking for a job here in this Commerce Park? And none of the kids raise their hands. I think most of the kids don't know what's right here in their backyard. I think there's great opportunities for these kinds of companies, but they just don't think of manufacturing. I think it's been intentional since the 70s to offshore manufacturing, and then COVID happened and it kind of brought a spotlight back on manufacturing, so I think it's moving in a good direction. But I find most kids don't think about manufacturing first. You know, they think of college or what they're going to do, but there's great opportunity in manufacturing, great paying jobs, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think, you know, we'll leave it at that.
Average salary in the manufacturing sector is currently $82,000.
Now, a follow-up here for Dot Decimal and Richard that we had. When I first arrived in Seminole County about 10 years ago and started working with economic development at that point, one of the first messages that Tricia Johnson, our deputy county manager, told me was, Geet, no matter what you do, you have to go see Dot Decimal, you have to go see Richard. Richard is a stalwart in the manufacturing space specific to Seminole County. So the question, Richard, that I had, you started Dot Decimal in the late 80s. How has the manufacturing industry changed since then outside of this $82K in salary now?
That is definitely a big change.
Yes, yeah. Needed and exciting change.
Indeed. Manufacturing really hasn't changed that much. It's changed less than you might think. We've been forming metal for, you know, over 100 years, planes and trains and automobiles. But, you know, we still use CNC machines. You know, back in the 60s when we put people on the moon, you know, we built rockets forming metal. So that stayed about the same. And you'll see these little fads kind of kick up every now and then. 3D printing. 15, 20 years ago, everybody said we were going to 3D print refrigerators and 3D print cars and 3D print everything, and that just didn't happen. We've implemented 3D printing at Dot Decimal and are excited about the potential, but it's not life-changing. And I would say the same thing about AI. Everybody thinks AI is going to take away manufacturing jobs. I don't see that at all. Jeff Bezos just invested $6.2 billion into a project, or the name of the company is called Project Prometheus, and it's all about AI in manufacturing. And so I think we're right there on the cutting edge of that. And so maybe that'll have a big impact on, you know, reducing costs and making workers' lives better. But manufacturing has not changed that much, in my opinion.
I want to have a follow-up here for Chris. And I just learned this, that Chris is a graduate of the UCF Incubator Program, and we also are part of that UCF Incubator Program along with Seminole State College, and have now bridged that soft landing gap in the first partnership of the incubator programs between UCF and SSC. Shameless plug. Now, Chris. You're welcome, John, wherever John is. So, Chris, you were in an incubator that was not located in Seminole County, correct?
Right,
Yes.
right, in Orange County.
But you chose to open your business here in Seminole County. My question to you, and we'll go down to Candy and SK after, is why did you choose to open your facility here in Seminole County?
Well, one of our primary reasons was to stay close with our customer base. I'm sure everyone in the room knows that the World Center for Military Simulation Training companies and government agencies is right here in Central Florida, right in Research Park. So it was important for us to locate near the ecosystem of companies and academics and government. But Seminole County proved to be a better choice. It was only a mile up the road from where we needed to be. Better tax situation. We were in unincorporated Oviedo. There was good office space for a company of our size. We were a small business getting a little bit bigger. So if you look at the commercial real estate market, there's huge spaces, and then there's really little spaces with cubicles. It's hard to find that in-between space. We found several options in the Oviedo area. So those were attractive things for us. Plus, as I mentioned before, the talent pool is where we need it. There's churn in the simulation business, and we can pick up the types of folks that we need from other companies, large companies, et cetera. So it turned out to be a really good place to locate.
And Candy, on the Manufacturers Association, you're privy to a lot of information from various manufacturers in Seminole. What's some of the common themes as to why they chose to open their facility or expand their operations into Seminole County?
So, just to add some context here, more than 80% of manufacturers have 20 or fewer employees. So there's a ton of small business. And across eastern Central Florida, Lake County over to the Space Coast, there's more than 4,200 manufacturers. Now, Seminole County specifically is such a sweet spot when it comes to geography, infrastructure. If you can't get your goods from point A to point B efficiently and effectively, then manufacturers are going to go somewhere else. If you don't have an efficient and effective and available talent pipeline and training programs, manufacturers are going to go where they can get those things. And those things, along with policymakers and utilities and all of those pieces working together, create a really productive ecosystem.
And SK, for Domtar, can you share the same insights? Is this a common theme as to why Domtar is located here in Seminole?
So Domtar chose to, actually this company, particular factory, was started in 2002. And Domtar took us over about 10 years ago. And reason for here is very good infrastructure, and wage structure is quite competitive compared to the other states, and there is no state income tax also. Sometimes, obviously, we struggle to hire people, but like I said before, we are able to give them proper training and train them. And what we are looking or maybe expecting is maybe there may be some more training centers here. Maybe Richard can help us. And also technical colleges. I know we have Seminole State College here, but maybe more smaller institutes to train people to at least have a basic industrial kind of knowledge. And industry also, industrial experience or industrial job is different than all other jobs. Sometimes it's very, very demanding. And preparing employees for that environment, sometime it will definitely help if we have more industry, so more people are moving around and more experience is available.
So before we go into nearshoring and onshoring here, the question down for the panel, I want to go to Chris first, and then I want to come back to Richard on this. So Richard, seeing that Chris, seeing that you're starting out on the manufacturing journey out of the incubator now, you got your own shop. The question here, want to bookend it, was how has that journey been, and did you explore any offshoring options?
Well, our contracts are federal contracts for military, so we have some Buy America clauses and some other restrictions on where we can source parts. But having said that, I'm still very pleased with the supply chain available in Central Florida. We design all our own printed circuit boards, but we don't manufacture them. But there are plenty of printed circuit board manufacturers. We have good relationships with them. Bending metal on some of our things, as you mentioned, or as Richard mentioned, there's availability nearby. And so as a small growing manufacturer, it's nice to be able to visit your supply chain and actually, develop a relationship. So that's been helpful. Occasionally we have to go out of state for some of our parts, but we have not looked, overseas. Really not an option for my particular business, nor would I really want to, as I'd rather stay local.
And Richard, so going back to the decades of dot decimal, can you describe kind of the change or shift that you've seen on offshoring to a possible nearshoring to now onshoring as that's fluctuated throughout the time? What has been your perspective throughout the decades? And then we'll come to Candy on that for the overall perspective of the sector in Central Florida.
I don't think it's changed that much. Radiation therapy is a very small community. There's approximately 10,000 radiation oncology centers in the world. A third of them in the U.S., a third in the EU, and the third the rest. And so it's a very small community. So when you make devices that work well for American patients, there are people in Europe that want the same thing. And so at one point in 2008, we opened an office in Tokyo. I didn't know at the time, but they said that's the hardest market for an American to go start a business in. And so that sounds like me. Wasn't a great move maybe, but it thrived until COVID, and unfortunately it collapsed. But in radiation therapy, again, there's a evolution of products. Cancer never sleeps, it's always transforming. So product development is always developing and transforming. And so, because of that small community, ideas are shared around the world now with the internet pretty quickly. But we've never thought about offshoring. What we've always tried to do is take our technology and take it into those foreign markets. So not subbing out manufacturing over there, but taking our expertise and putting it in.
More about export.
Yeah.
And Candy, not solely the trend on offshore, nearshore, onshore, but also politically, what are you seeing as you advocated, not just state level, but also DC through the association? What are you seeing are some of the political sentiments for this, some of the headwinds that may be coming for the manufacturing sector?
Absolutely. So we hear the term supply chain a lot, but at the end of the day, a chain is fragile. Chains snap, chains break, and when it does, you're in trouble. So what we're seeing, we still use that term, but I think of it more as an ecosystem that's made up of suppliers and policymakers and workforce partners and training partners, and all of these things, utilities, all of these things have to work together for things to be successful for you to onshore. We're not competing necessarily as much on making things as cheap as we can. Now we're competing on protecting our intellectual property. We're competing on quality, on speed, reliability. All of these things come together. So it's not just about a transactional relationship with a supplier. It's more, I think, from what I'm seeing, is relationships with suppliers tend to be more strategic. They tend to be more collaborative than just a transaction. So these ecosystems, and I think Seminole County does it pretty well, and all of Central Florida really does it extremely well when it comes to creating an ecosystem that is friendly, because if a chain breaks, you're in trouble. But when there's a disruption in an ecosystem, it reroutes and it can adapt.
So, SK, I want to ask, as the international manufacturer on the board, what are some of the things, now that you've heard from the trends, you heard politically, hear what the push, what the stories are, what are the things that you think we can be doing better, either federally, locally, or statewide?
As I said before also, we are looking for employees with some basic technical knowledge, know-how. And for that, obviously, need some technical training. And if possible, maybe more, even smaller institutions like welding training, fitters training, pipe welders, operators. So those kind of things will definitely help instead of hiring someone who has worked in a store and he has no clue what he has to do in an industry. So those kind of things will definitely help. But overall, we are not struggling. We are able to manage. And I don't see anything else.
Okay. So for our final question, to go down the panel, and we'll start here with Richard, and then Chris will cap us off. Some of the issues that we discussed, there are also opportunities, there are disruptions. From a common theme that you see in your business, what is one moment of either heartache or disruption, but also what I'd like to end every event that I'm in a positive manner. So let's start with the disruption, but let's end with a moment of hope that you are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. What's a positive that excites you as well? So a disruption and a positive message.
I think it's where we started when we talked about labor and getting people to understand manufacturing is not working in a coal mine. It's working with robots, it's working with software, it's working with stuff like that. I think, what the community does really well here is Seminole County Public Schools deserve a lot of credit. Their vision on training has been superb. We have an advanced manufacturing lab at Lake Mary High School that is the best in Central Florida. And Seminole State, another great opportunity there to engage like we're doing this morning with this meeting. I think that engagement is the key piece that's missing. And I think there's an opportunity for improvement there to get more businesses in schools and more schools in businesses. And so I'd love to see more businesses engaging with Seminole State and with Seminole County Public Schools to get more internships, to get more teach-ins where people just go talk for an hour and tell people what you do, how you do it, what jobs are available, but to engage your local high schools because there's talent pipeline right there that's coming through, but it's that engagement thing, and I think Seminole County really does a great job of that. John Gillen is here, Sean Gard Harold is here. There's people here that you can engage with lickety-split and really impact our local economy.
Perfect. So, SK, what is a disruption and a moment of hope that you are seeing?
Disruption, I could imagine, is nowadays students coming out of high school. Some goes to college, good. But most of these students, they look for sitting on a computer and doing that kind of computer-related jobs. But industry has everything. They have some computer-related jobs, but a lot of operating the machines, and there's a process. So this is kind of disruption I can see. It's sometimes hurts. But at the same time, there are a lot of people available also who are ready to work in the industrial environment. And that's a good thing actually. For now it is, but I don't know after 10 or 20 years what's going to happen. I hope it stays that way.
And Richard, would have followed?
I just wanted to add something to that, and it's sometimes you kind of get pigeonholed as a manufacturer, that people don't appreciate that manufacturers, we need salespeople, we need finance people, we need advertising people, we need, the whole gamut of occupations live in manufacturing. So it's not just the vocational technical training on CNC and machines and engineers and stuff like that, but it's the whole gamut of occupations are in manufacturing.
Yeah.
So Candy, your opportunity, disruption and hope.
One of the things that we spend a lot of time on is, Chris referenced the Buy America clauses. We see that coming up a lot. There are some things that we're onshoring, but we are just not quite building capacity as fast as we would like. So we have a whole supply chain team that works to try to find domestic suppliers for different things. So that's definitely a challenge. We're getting there and we're making progress. I feel like Central Florida is in such a sweet spot because at the end of the day, the regions that are going to win this are the ones who can deliver on talent, infrastructure, and speed. And I think that those things work really well here.
And Chris, no pressure, your cleanup.
Okay. Well, I echo some of the same comments. To add one other area is the political disruption. I think this swinging back and forth from left to right, tax policy changes and social policy, and we see prices, we have tariffs. Tariffs hit us hard on one order we had because we did have to purchase some things overseas for this particular contract. But then I wonder what's next. The political landscape may switch, so it makes it difficult to plan long-term on your cost side and people side. The regulatory burden, I'm feeling it really strongly now. I have a federal contract. There's literally more people managing my contract than I have in my company. So it's quite a challenge. I just get concerned, not just because of the current climate, but what's next, and is it going to switch drastically to another, philosophy? So that's just something I wanted to mention. But on the positive side, we're in a very positive economic and business state right now. And I think on the personnel side, like I said, I've had really good luck getting great employees. And I think there's a trend towards trade schools and skill-based education, which is super positive, as SK was mentioning, that not everybody can be in an air-conditioned office with a computer. We need wrench turners and solderers and all sorts of skills. So I'm seeing that trend towards elevating those skills to respectable, noble professions is a good thing, and the education that's helping to feed those people into the workforce is a really positive trend. So.
Fantastic. So if we have time for a question or two from the audience for the panel, and I already see a hand coming up in the back there. Anyone want to bet it has to do with politics?
Absolutely not. So we have about 200 people in the audience right now that all would probably love to do business with you, from marketing, printing, HR, and everything. How is a best way to for vendors to get in with manufacturers?
Perfect.
And just go down the round. Chris, why don't you start?
Co-MC.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to folks about hiring some folks. We're hiring about another 10 people in the next few months. I'd like to talk to drone manufacturers. We have training devices for drones. Drones have changed the face of warfare, and so we're deeply involved with training on drone-based instrumentation. So I know there's several drone companies in Central Florida. We're working with some of them. I'd like to, if there's any interest in there. We also have products that deal with armed teachers in schools and weapon safety type products. We'd be interested in talking with maybe Seminole County sheriffs and others that might be in that particular part of the industry, the training industry. So.
Cool. Ken?
Yeah. So with MACF, a great way to get to know manufacturers is to join the association. I'll say that. But I will say that if you're not a manufacturer, we do maintain a 60-40 ratio of manufacturers to non-manufacturers. And if you're a non-manufacturer, then it does have to get approved by our board, because we want to make sure that anybody who's part of our group actually does have programs that are specific to manufacturers, because manufacturers, it's different than working in a bank or Chamber of Commerce or something else. It is quite different. So we want to make sure that whatever you're doing is actually going to serve manufacturers well. And then we find that a lot of those connections happen at events or other places, just getting out there and building relationships with this sector is really critical.
SK?
So getting vendors to our manufacturing unit, I think can go through MACF or send introductory emails. And definitely we need help. We need contractors. We need material. We need all kind of parts. So, or you can just stop by.
All right. Sounds easy enough. Just stop by. That's right. Richard?
I think, you know, like I'm sure every other small business person in the room, we need to save money. Healthcare costs are driving us nuts. So whatever we can do to reduce healthcare costs, I think I'm always interested in that. I'm always interested in efficiencies and what have you. And so it's not hard to get an appointment, although we do have locked doors at our place. It's not something you can kind of jump into. One of my companies is a aerospace and defense manufacturer. So we have ITAR regulations that require locked entries and what have you for safety's sake. And but again, we're here and we want to engage with the community. We need all the services that you guys provide. And so it's not that difficult to jump in. But right now, one of our pain points is healthcare. I was speaking with Richard from IOA just before coming up here. And I think there's great resources in this room that if you can kind of engage with and mingle with and take the time for a coffee or a lunch, you might be able to save some money for your business as well.
Now, I've received approval for one quick question. Can't go down the panel. All right, one caveat here.
Sorry, I got the mic.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry, Aaron. Sorry.
Sorry, my name's Dave McDonald with Better Together Group. And as you were talking about the challenges around helping people find their pathway into the trades and into skilled labor and even into unskilled labor, one of the things that strikes me is a big challenge is, I don't know how to say this nicely, the uppityness of guidance counselors that are advocating people in, am I wrong? Yes. Okay, great, thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. Great, so and we are talking about how Lake Mary is doing a great job at this, but what I find is some of my friends are teachers, and I won't get into that, but as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I so highly value people that bootstrap themselves and lift themselves up. And what I see in the trades is people that are doing that every day. People that tighten up their belt straps and they just go get it done. And how do we create that environment where that's something that we admire in society and create these careers to be careers of choice, not careers of chance, which they've traditionally been. I'll leave that for anyone.
It's not just schools. Again, it's an ecosystem. And we work with all of our schools in the area, and our schools are phenomenal partners. I think a bigger limiter is parents. Then, it's not the school's job to raise your kid. You know, it's a parent's job to do. Parents need to see what's happening and follow and understand how the industry has changed. You know, he mentioned a coal mine. When we were talking to legislators in Tallahassee, somebody mentioned that there was a perception that shops were, you know, kind of dirty and dark and hot and sweaty. And I haven't been to his shop, but I've been to his shop, and you could eat off his floors. It's sparkling. I went to a manufacturer that makes engines, like race car engines, long blocks, and it sparkles. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's very high tech. But parents don't know all of the options. They just know send your kid to a college and let them graduate with $500,000 in debt. But there's more to it than that, and it's about educating parents.
All right. So let me get us back on schedule here. Without further ado, I'm going to invite Rebecca back up, but also thank you, Richard, Chris, SK, Candy,